The resume slipped from her fingers, floating to the desk like a fallen leaf. Sarah Winters, hiring manager at Meridian Tech for 8 years, had interviewed hundreds of candidates. But none like this. She looked up at the man across from her, exhausted eyes, wrinkled shirt, a small coffee stain near the collar he'd tried to hide with his tie. His hands trembled slightly as he waited for her verdict. Behind that nervous exterior was a story that would change not just his life, but hers too. If you're wondering whether second chances exist in today's cutthroat corporate world, stay with me until the end. And if this story touches your heart, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to see more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Michael Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours. Between his 5-year-old daughter Emma's fever that had finally broken at 4 a.m. and the preparation for this interview, rest had become a luxury he couldn't afford. As a single father since his wife's death 2 years ago, he'd mastered the art of functioning on minimal sleep, cold coffee, and pure determination. "Mr. Chen," Sarah began, her voice professional but tinged with something he couldn't quite identify. "Your technical answers were, well, they weren't what we typically look for in a senior developer position." Michael's heart sank. He needed this job desperately. His freelance work had dried up 3 months ago, and his savings were nearly depleted. The babysitter watching Emma was charging by the hour, and every minute this interview continued without success was money he couldn't spare. "I understand," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Thank you for the opportunity." As he reached for his worn leather portfolio, Sarah held up her hand. "I haven't finished." She tapped his resume, her finger landing on a 3-year gap. "You didn't explain this period during our conversation." Michael hesitated. He'd learned from previous interviews that personal tragedy wasn't something employers wanted to hear about. They wanted confidence, ambition, and unwavering focus, not a man piecing his life back together after losing his wife to cancer while raising a child alone. "It's personal," he said simply. Sarah leaned back in her chair, studying him. In her 15 years in corporate America, she'd developed an instinct for people who were hiding something. Usually, it was inflated credentials or a termination they were trying to conceal. But Michael's discomfort felt different. "Mr. Chen, off the record, this interview isn't going well. But there's something about your background that doesn't add up. You have an impressive early career at major tech companies, followed by this gap, then freelance work. I'm trying to understand the person behind the resume." Perhaps it was exhaustion breaking down his walls, or maybe it was the genuine curiosity in her eyes, but Michael decided truth was his only remaining option. "My wife was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer 5 years ago. I scaled back to care for her while she underwent treatment. After she passed, I became a single parent to our daughter overnight. The gap represents the time I needed to help my daughter process her grief and adjust to our new reality. I took whatever remote work I could find that allowed me to be there for her." Sarah's professional demeanor softened. "I'm very sorry for your loss." "Emma is everything to me," Michael continued, surprising himself with his candor. "She's why I'm here today. Freelancing isn't stable enough. She deserves better than wondering if Daddy can afford new shoes for kindergarten." Sarah glanced down at his resume again, this time seeing beyond the chronology of employment. She noticed the coding languages he'd taught himself during late nights after his daughter went to bed. The freelance projects he'd completed for clients across multiple industries, demonstrating versatility and determination. "You know," she said, "my father raised me alone after my mother left when I was 7. Michael looked up, surprised by the personal disclosure. "He worked 2 jobs, Sarah continued. "I remember him falling asleep at the kitchen table while helping with my homework. He never complained, not once." She paused, memories washing over her. "He taught me that character isn't built when things are easy." She turned his resume around, pointing to a project he'd completed for a nonprofit. "Tell me about this. It's not your most technically impressive work, but you spent significant time on it according to the dates." Michael's expression brightened slightly. It's an app that helps children understand grief through interactive storytelling. I created it for Emma, but the children's hospital where my wife received treatment asked if they could use it for other families. You built this while caring for your daughter and working other jobs? Mostly between midnight and 3 a.m., he admitted with a small smile. It was therapeutic. Sarah made a decision then that went against conventional hiring wisdom. The company wanted the most technically proficient candidate. Michael had stumbled through algorithm questions and blanked on a system design problem. By objective measures, he wasn't their top choice. But Sarah had learned something her father taught her long ago: technical skills can be taught, but character and resilience are innate. Our team has been struggling with a project for a children's education platform, she said. The technical aspects are straightforward, but understanding how children interact with technology requires insight we've been lacking. She closed his file. Meridian has a flexible work policy and comprehensive benefits, including childcare assistance. The position includes remote days that could align with your daughter's schedule. Michael stared at her, processing her words. Are you offering me the job? I'm offering you a chance, Mr. Chen. The same kind someone once gave my father. 2 months later, Michael's app for grieving children was being adapted as part of Meridian's educational platform, with him leading the project. His daughter Emma had started kindergarten, proudly wearing new shoes and telling everyone her daddy built computers that helped kids like her. Sarah had taken a risk that paid off beyond expectations. Michael brought perspectives to the team that they hadn't realized they were missing. His experience as a parent navigating technology with a child provided insights that transformed their approach to user experience. On a company recognition board, a note appeared from the CEO: "The Chen project has secured our largest educational contract to date. Innovation comes from unexpected places." When I started my channel, I promised to share stories that remind us of our shared humanity. This story is inspired by my own experience with my uncle, who struggled to find employment after becoming a single parent. Like Michael, he encountered a hiring manager who saw beyond his circumstances to his potential. Today, he's an executive who makes a point of looking beyond gaps in resumes to the human stories they represent. In a world that often reduces us to bullet points on paper, it's worth remembering that behind every resume is a person with challenges, dreams, and untold strengths. Sometimes the most valuable qualifications aren't listed on a resume but are forged through life's most difficult moments. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing to hear more stories that celebrate second chances and the people who make them possible. Remember that compassion in the workplace isn't just kind, it's good business. And to all the single parents out there fighting battles no one sees, your strength doesn't go unnoticed, and your story isn't over yet.